You're a struggling student at home making yourself some 2-minute noodles. You get distracted singing along to MTV. You look back at the stove and it's boiled over and splatters hitting your hand. You end up with 3rd-degree burns that are serious enough to need surgery and a skin graft. If this had happened 20 years ago, your hand might have ended up looking like this. 5 years ago, maybe something like this. If it happened today, probably more along the lines of this. But what if it was possible for it to end up looking like this? There's no obvious signs of ailment anywhere. What if you didn't have to live with a lifetime worth of stares and questions at a patch of skin that was a totally different colour? What if you didn't have to deal with the reduced range of motion and a funny looking hand with no hair that can't sweat? What if you could go on and live the rest of your life without the psychological and cosmetic damages that are normally associated with skin grafts, especially in an area as obvious as your hand? In the last decade, the science behind creating artificial tissue has come forward in leaps and bounds, and now a group of Singaporean scientists are taking it even further, using 3D printers to make skin that looks and acts like real, normal skin, more than anything else beforehand. While in the past, skin for grafts has been taken from other parts of the body and sometimes even fish scales, recently the trend has been to grow the skin in the laboratory. For the purpose of skin grafts, human skin is made up of 3 different types of cells. Keratinins and fibroblasts give the skin structure that it needs to act like an organ, and melatonin cells, which produce melanin, give the skin the colour it needs to look like real skin. The distribution of the melatonin cells is really important in making a graft that looks like and acts like real skin. But this isn't really happening with today's techniques. Instead, it can end up looking a bit like this, which isn't really what you want. All of the melatonin cells clump in the middle or sink to the bottom, making fake skin with a huge dark patch in the middle where the melanin is really concentrated in the middle. Currently, the different types of cells are all grown separately in their own solutions and then tipped into a mould, think like layered cake. Because of the way the cells are tipped in, the layers don't fit properly and they're not consistent. And bits get mixed together where they definitely shouldn't. The heavier things also sink to the bottom, which is not what you want when you're trying to make a consistent looking cake. And the skin and the melatonin all don't end up looking like normal skin. The mixture also doesn't cook evenly and the top of the cake looks really blotchy and inconsistent. And all of this amounts to a pretty unappetizing looking cake. This isn't what you want when it comes to a skin graft. But what if instead the layers of the cake could be set in a way that kept all of the layers consistent and in the right order, and let all of the important heavy bits, in the case of skin, the melatonin cells, distributed really evenly throughout the whole cake, still having an even look and a consistent finish? To me, that sounds a lot more appetizing and a lot more practical for skin grafts. Skin that's made in the science labs today is referred to as TE skin. So TE is short for tissue engineered. While it's useful in that it's made out of human cells, the similarities with normal skin about end there. TE skin lacks hair follicles and sweat glands, as well as not matching the normal pigmentation of skin. This lack of colour and pigmentation is a really big cause of concern for people with skin grafts, especially in places that are really obvious, just as cosmetically having the different colour can be pretty strange and a bit of a psychological reminder that they've had an injury that required the skin graft. The current technique for making TE skin is known as manual casting, and while it produces really usable skin, it's very imprecise and time consuming, as well as not being able to have the right colour. So what if there was a different option? A group of Singaporean scientists have recently published a proof of concept paper, proving that 3D printing technology can be used to create skin that looks and acts like real skin. And you can have all the proportions of cells correct, just like you would have in normal human skin. 3D printing has really taken off in the last few years, and they're using all sorts of materials like plastics, clay, and sometimes even chocolate to quickly make thousands of precise and customizable objects. 3D bioprinting uses the same machinery and techniques as normal 3D printing, but the material is real human cells. The aim of using 3D bioprinted skin is to produce something that can match the skin colour of the patient as well as mirroring the cell composition of real human skin. Similar to the manual casting approach that is being used now, the bioprinting technique involves growing and manufacturing the 3 different types of human cells from donors in a science lab. But again, this is about where the similarities end. To ensure that the cells are in the same proportions as they are in the real skin, and that they're at the same stage of development, this bioprinting technique suggests that they're all grown together and then printed together. So they're all grown in a universal solution rather than growing them in 3 different lots and then having to mix them together later. Just like normal 3D printers, the bioprinter prints layers upon layers upon layers of cells in an order determined by a computer. So that's just like any other sort of 3D printing. This process makes sure that the melatonin cells, the ones that produce the melanin to ensure the skin's got colour, are evenly distributed and spread really nicely, just like they are in human skin, and reduces any cosmetic differences between the human skin and the fake skin. Having skin that acts like real skin and looks like real skin is only one advantage of using this 3D bioprinting technique. The technique also means that the different layers of skin are physiologically the same, reducing the chance of any unnecessary consequences of the skin graft. So this can be things like rejection of the graft. So let's bring this back to the scenario at the start. Your little accident with the boiling water causing the burn to your hands isn't just going to be painful and cost a lot of time and money. It could also have some really severe psychological effects. Having a skin graft that doesn't match the rest of your skin can be a constant reminder of the accident that you've had. The lack of confidence that comes with this definitely isn't what you want, and it can cause serious lead-on effects. There's also evidence that a person's own poor perception of their skin graft can increase the rate of rejection. So if you've got a skin graft that looks and acts like real skin, you're less likely to have a poor perception of it and therefore reduce your risk of rejection. The proof of concept paper provided by the Singaporean scientists provides a definite alternative to the current blotchy and unusual inconsistent graft that is seen throughout the world today, especially when making fake skin for obvious parts of the body. TE skin is also already used globally for purposes outside of the normal medical realm. So, for example, L'Oreal use it for their cosmetic testing. So if we can print skin that acts and behaves like normal human skin, the benefits will be far-reaching just outside the medical realm. Reducing the physiological effects of having this skin graft and adding to its functionality will improve the lives of so many people. 3D printing has taken over countless industries already, but its role in the medical field is pretty minimal at the moment, and it could be a total game changer. Creating human skin that acts like normal skin and looks like normal skin is only the beginning.